Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back. So this weekend, we're gonna pull the power steering rack out of this hog and throw a seal kit in it. Something I've never done before. I've always just removed and replaced. So this should be interesting. So let's get after it. Okay, I want to talk about a couple things before I get ready to do this. If you've never done a rack before, let's see. We'll start over here. This nut, or this bolt, excuse me, right here, that's actually a pinch bolt. It pinches the steering shaft coming off the steering around to the rack. There is actually a slot, which you guys can't see from here, on this side of it. So what you can do is you can actually run that out, turn your steering wheel so you can get to that slot and put a flat blade screwdriver and ever so slightly tap it in there, and you'll open that up a little bit and it'll make it way easier coming on and off. So keep that in mind. So that's right there. As far as some of the socket size in this thing, that's a 24 mil right there. This is gonna fit like so, right, to bolt to the frame. My tie rod ends are 21 mil. Now keep in mind, these are like a locking style nut. They have a what they call nylon in the top of them, so it's never a bad idea to spray them with a little bit of thing or a little bit of lube before you run them out. If you have a problem where this nut comes about halfway off the stud and continues to spin, what you do is you take a big pry bar, put into your control arm, and then put pressure upwards into the joint and actually hold it still so you can take, whatever and run the nut off. So keep that in mind, as you will come across that. So we got that stuff there. It's pretty straightforward. Shaft, the two lines, which is gonna make a mess. Unbolt it from the frame, unbolt your tie rod ends. Another thing too is if you've never done this before, you're gonna take that nut off your tie rod and it's not going to want to come out. Instead of smacking it here with a hammer, hit it right through this area and it'll actually jump out of there. Trust me on that one. And last thing to note, but we're going to have to go top side, so excuse the shaking around. When you take the steering shaft off of your rack, be very careful that you keep the steering wheel in the same place. There is a mechanism, you can kind of see it because I got my shell off. There's actually a mechanism down inside here. They call that a clock spring, and what it does is it allows you to rotate the wheels and the wires inside it still make contact for some of your cruise control if you have radio controls in the back. So if you rotate that too many times, you can actually break that piece, and then you're going to be pulling the steering wheel off. So take a bungee or a ratchet strap and then maybe run it down the seat. Just hold the thing still. Like I said, you don't want to go too many times. Or if you get it out of sync and you get in the truck and back the truck out and turn it one more time or two more times, you could break it again. So that's why it's important to keep that thing held fast. So let me jump back under here real quick. I'm gonna get this rack popped out. Well, that was about 5 minutes and old girl's out. So here's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna take this little balancing tube off. I'm gonna pull that clamp off. We're gonna pull this clamp back. And then instead of taking the outer tie rods off, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off at the inner. That way I don't lose any of my adjustment. Not that it was close anyway, because it actually is going to get in alignment after this. But let me do that real quick. So if you are not familiar with what an inner tie rod on a rack looks like, if I pull the boot back, there it is right there. And you see the flat where my thumb is and another flat on the other side. So you can put a giant wrench or whatever you got to do adjustable on it, and those things actually thread off. So I'm going to pull this one off, and I'm going to pull the one off over there, and then I'm going to, my stuff's okay. This, if you're doing this at home, it wouldn't be a bad idea just to go ahead and replace it, but I already shook the front end of my truck down and everything's nice and tight. But again, it's actually that simple. There's not really much to it than that. The only tip I'll give you is when you're putting it back together, put some Loctite on it for sure. Just a dab on that one, a dab on this one when you tighten it back down. Alright, so here's where we're at, because I was fighting the thing. This piece right here goes in the far end, so the passenger side, it just sits in there, and then it has a wire, wherever that wire went. This lock wire right here, that you actually have to dig out, there's a slot right there. So that lock wire sits in that groove. So I got all that stuff out, that was no big deal. C-clip comes off the top, easy. There's a plastic plug and a nut that hold the shaft in. So now what I'm fighting with is I got to figure out a way to get this plug out. Once I get this plug out, then I can slide both these intersecting shafts out. So that's what I'm working on right now. All right, update time. As you can tell, we made a little bit more progress. This thing right here, I actually refer to that as the pinion. I ended up just taking and putting a drift in the center of it and knocking it out, and with it comes the bearing and a seal. So all we'll do is we'll put these new 4 seals on here, the upper seal on it, the bearing stays there. There's one of the seals that go in one of the ends. The sucker sits in there like that. There's actually another seal down in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can kind of see it, but I got to dig that seal out. So those will be the 2 end seals. The actual rack, I actually had to take that thing and drive it out this way. So I had to come this way. I actually put a drift or a punch in the center of it so I get the threads and just knocked it through. When it knocked it through, it kicked the seal out with it. So actually that actually sits like this right here. So you get your seal, your spacer, and you get that other piece with that wire ring that we talked about. The plug and the nut go on the bottom of here. That aluminum plug actually put a little bit of heat on it and messed it up just a little bit, but it actually came out. That piece, that plug, when you pull that plug out, you got this piece right here that actually is notched. It sits in a rack like this, and a spring and an O-ring like so, and then the plug goes like that. So really, to be honest with you guys, it's not overly complicated. The only part I'm going to struggle with is right now is getting that other seal out of that sucker. If I can get it out that tube, I'm sure there's a pull. Or installing is going to be the easy part. Actually getting the old one out is where I might struggle. I'll probably have to flip it right back around and see if I can catch it and drive it through. So let me see what I can do. So remember that one time I told you I was going to rebuild the wreck in the truck? Let's look at it real quick. So, you know, obviously got the whole thing torn down and can't get the seal out of the inside. I've tried all my tricks without the right tool to pull this thing out. This is the outer seal, and then it has an inner seal. Actually goes like this, face down. Well, there's a tool, that almost like a slide hammer, that grabs the inside. You pull the thing up to it, and I can't get that thing out for nothing. I know a couple different tricks I can use. And one is like running a self-tapper screw through it, and as the screw hits the bottoms out, it actually walk the seal out. Couldn't do that because it actually started getting in the aluminum. So yeah, brand new rack. So it is what it is. I still might try to get a tool. I'm not going to throw everything away. I still like to see if I can salvage it and get the thing out of there. I mean, for the price of a seal kit, why not, right? But I'm going to throw that thing in. Once I get that in, I actually have an appointment for an alignment here in a couple days. It hasn't ever got a front end alignment. After I did all the tubular stuff, I kind of just been drive it and it's actually started to eat the tires just a hair. So I'm going to get it aligned. Let me throw this thing in. That's what's so nice about doing this. It's literally been like 2 minutes. The thing's already bolted in. The steering shaft's connected. I get to put the lines on. I was kind of surprised. I don't know if you can see it. Normally, when you get a new rack, it comes with the 2 little O-rings for the lines. And it definitely did not, which isn't the end of the world. You know, it's whatever. I'll just reuse them. They should be fine. I'm still going to put the tie rod ends on. Hopefully I can get it close enough. At least I can do a little bit of driving because I like to play with the tune this weekend. But I just thought I'd point that out. If you do one of these, make sure that little O-ring, if you can see it, there it is. Make sure that little O-ring doesn't fall off, because if you put these lines back on, that O-ring's gone. It's going to leak like a sieve. So let me put these in real quick. Hey, real quick, I want to talk about, I know I talked about this before, I'll show you. See the nylon in that lock nut? It's really for one-time use. Make sure you put a dab of Loctite on the threads, and if you're getting a problem with that nylon hanging up to the point where it grabs the tie rod in and kind of spins the end of it around, you can actually put just a touch of grease on the nylon, which I know defeats the purpose, but at this point it doesn't even matter. Again, Loctite the nut, tighten her back down. And like that, back together. Fluid's in it, rack's back in. No big deal. That was a pretty easy transaction. If you ever have to do one, it's not even a big deal. Don't even sweat it. So I gotta getting this thing aligned here in a couple days. I also have to get tires for it. I'm struggling to get tires. I wanted to put Pro bracket radios on it, but you can't find them. The suckers are on back order forever, and honestly, like by the time I get them, it's going to be too late. So I might, those are SS Streets. I might try to pick up another pair, 275 6015s, you know, small tire SS Streets, or I like to kind of try the Street R's, but I don't think I can find those either. So I'm going to just want to let you guys know the current status. Still messing with the tune, not even anywhere near what I need it to be. You know, this is the most time I've messed with Holly, but this is the most time I've been able to actually like sit down and kind of, you know, tinker with it and get the things flowing and things working like I want it to, which is great. I like it. I need more time to get it where I want to get it. Yeah, so hopefully next up to you guys get this thing's aligned in one way or another. I'm gonna get some tires on the way. Hopefully get the track and see what we can do with this thing. Until next time, thanks for watching. See ya.